The CGA Tour, a podcast unlike any other. Now your host, Calvin Alexander.
Hello and welcome back to yet another episode of the CGA Tour podcast, the Calvin Glen Alexander Tour, right before the rebrand coming down shortly here before football season, and we get some more Oklahoma State than name. You know, I mean, this is completely an Oklahoma State podcast now, so I got to rebrand it officially that. But today I am joined by David Talks Sports, David Talks Buffs here, the College Huddle Colorado Buffaloes affiliate. David, how's it going?
Cal, I'm doing wonderful. I'm so glad we're almost to football season, man. I'm sick of seeing Little League highlights. Talking about the Cowboys on ESPN, any of that, man. I'm ready for real football. Enough of this drama, enough of Little League. Let's get to the real sports that we care about, which is college football.
Well, I got to say, as a former Los Angeles Chargers employee and fan, and I know you're a Broncos fan, I'm tired of just hearing the Sean Payton loves this team and Justin Herbert's the next second coming and whatever. When I know at the end of the day, it's like the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl, guys, so let's just chill out, you know? So I'm excited to talk some Big 12 football instead, right?
Yeah, that's right. The best, most competitive conference in all of college football. The SEC and the Big Ten, they don't want to admit it, but this is going to be the funnest conference in college football again this year. I believe it.
I do too. So we're going to go through Oklahoma State and Colorado, pick the biggest upset, pick the biggest, hey, can't believe they lost that one. Talk about Gundy and Deion's legacies, and then maybe if Deion's going to leave before the end of the decade, as well as some conference additions we'd love to see here. So I'll throw it to you here first. I'm kind of asking here, looking through the Colorado schedule, you guys got Georgia Tech to open up the season just a day after we play UT Martin. So different opponents there, of course. But what do you think is going to be the biggest upset Colorado pulls off this season?
Oh, man. Well, I think, honestly, Georgia Tech, I'm assuming we're already like big dogs, even though we're at home with them. That's kind of been like just a popular one to take. But I'm gonna give us a new game to kind of focus on, and that is going to the Little Apple, man. I just got this feeling, Kansas State came in and, they ruined our party, the rebirth of the rivalry last year, at Folsom. Oh my gosh, those passes at the end of the game were just absolutely killer. And this time, I got a feeling that Colorado goes and gets their revenge on Kansas State in their house this time. Because, again, we're a different team. Shador's gone. Travis is gone. We're not going to be as pass happy this year. I think our ground game is going to be a big factor in being able to win some of these games on the road, controlling the clock a little bit more. So that is my big upset pick of the year, is we beat Kansas State.
Well, similarly here, I think Oklahoma State upsets Iowa State for our last game of the season. And this is during the season, this could flip. This could go, hey, it's no longer that big of an upset. Iowa State didn't turn out to be that good. Oklahoma State turned out to be better than everyone expected, which would be Gundy's MO. But I personally, I think we'll win on Senior Day as well, too. Senior Day at home. How are we going to lose to Iowa State? It just seems like there'd be a bad taste in the mouth to end out the season. And I don't trust Rocco Becht. I saw him play in the Big 12 championship against kind of Arizona State defense. Like, that's not what Arizona State was known for, and he just didn't play well. So I think Oklahoma State could prevail here against Iowa State Cyclones.
Well, I think that would be great. I think that would help the rest of us as well in the Big 12 title race, man. I would love to see it.
Yeah, the Big 12, where they do away with the preseason poll before the start of the season because it never makes sense. So with that there here, I want to ask you as well about kind of Gundy and Deion. Of course, Mike Gundy's been with OSU for 20 plus. This is his 20th season, actually. 21st, in fact. Forever. But Deion Sanders has been around college football for a while now. I mean, he coached Jacksonville State, of course, now coaching Colorado. Who do you think in 10 years from now has the better college football coaching legacy?
Oh, man.
Because Deion has the bigger legacy overall. Like, there's no... And it's like, I got to put it down in this, like, narrow niche kind of, to really talk about how could Gundy be known for doing something better than Deion.
Yeah, it all depends on how you look at it, because again, like, Gundy's been like a cowboy for life, right? So, and he's had so much success over the last 3 decades. Now with Prime, there's so much star power, the headlines, he's always going to be probably much easier to talk about and to just follow than Mike Gundy, kind of outside of the state of Oklahoma, man. But I think that this is my homer take, Cal. I still believe it that we were Mountain West bound unless Prime was here. If he wasn't here, we'd be bound for the Mountain West. And yeah, he's taken over a program that was just dead in the water. If, let's say, in the next 5 years, we can win a Big 12 at some point, go to the college football playoff. I mean, that's quite a legacy to take over a 1-11 team that, had all these academic restrictions with the transfer portal, all this stuff previous, and, bringing them to a college football playoff. I mean, definitely if we win a national championship, whoever does that, whether it's Mike Gundy or Prime, I think that will help cement their legacy. But, like, you got to give Gundy credit for sticking with one program. Like, that is so rare in today's world in college football. But I got to give you my homer take. It's got to be Prime, baby. But a lot of this is kind of projecting out right now. I would say that, of course, Mike Gundy definitely has the upper hand right now in just terms of what he has accomplished, track record. He does have some of those viral moments, on his own. But I'm curious, Cal, what you think, as well as, like, I know that there was some talk last year about maybe this being Mike Gundy's last year. Seems like that's kind of like gone away a little bit. When I'm peering in from the outside, is there kind of like a revitalization, a new energy right now with the NIL collective, Mike Gundy, and all that? Like, is this thing going to continue to go on?
So one thing I think is weird is that the NIL last year for Oklahoma State, just, NIL was going to be a thing, but the transfer portal was not. Yeah. I mean, we had 20 starters returning. It's hard to get more guys in the transfer portal when you've got one position not, one player on each side of the ball not returning. Oh yeah, let's get a bunch of guys who are backups and transfers and all types of stuff. It just wasn't going to happen. So of course this year it's going to happen. It's my point. That we just had so many guys we lost. So that's how the transfer portal works. When you don't return a ton of guys, you need a ton of guys. You also have the ability. So I think there's a lot of optimism and hope that Gundy can ride off into some type of sunset with Oklahoma State fans, is what I'd say. Last year was so bad, so bad, and it never got better. There wasn't a conference win on the schedule. There wasn't nothing happened good last season. It was Gundy's worst season, period, coaching.
Yeah.
So I think there's just a lot of hope amongst Oklahoma State fans that he can, I wouldn't say turn it around, because one bad year to me is not like a death and gloom, but the quarterbacks on the roster have not thrown a pass in a game. Neither guy. One's been on the roster for now, I think this is his 3rd season with Oklahoma State, where he's a redshirt and a medical redshirt. The other guy transferred in with the offensive coordinator, both from TCU. So I think there's just a ton of hope that Gundy can really end his Oklahoma State career on like a high note, and then that's how he kind of ends it out, versus if this is his last year, then he's probably fired, or there's a mutual parting of ways, and it's kind of a nicely put, way of saying he's let go, because he's had some weird viral moments of the OAN shirt, but also of the I'm a man, I'm 40, where he's repping his own players. And Justin Bieber has at one point had Mike Gundy, I'm a man, I'm 40 as his ringtone, which TikTok found out about the other day, which was great. But I think there's a good chance that Deion is just such a big brand that no matter what, he got Colorado to not just going to a bowl game or something, whatever. Colorado, yeah, I mean, he got Travis Hunter to Colorado. He got a Heisman Trophy winner in Boulder. There's all that type of stuff where Gundy's been a really good coach, and his legacy is one that'll always hold a ton of value for Oklahoma State fans. But Deion took Colorado like exactly what you're saying, from nothing to a ton of something, and the future is yet to be told. Like TBD, no longer is his son the quarterback, and the guy he also recruited as a 5-star dual threat, kind of inside the ball playing. So how will these next 5 years go for each guy is, I think, a huge. I think that's more the topic's more fun to talk about right now, in my opinion, is because we don't have any type of closing of a chapter or book yet on either guy.
Yeah. I would hope things end well for Mike Gundy. I feel like that would be a shame if things were to go as long as they have, and for this to just be another dud of a season. But I've been through plenty of those. Like in 2020, our starting quarterback was a converted safety. So when you're talking about just having like nothing in the cupboard at the quarterback position, man, been there too. I understand like what a soul crushing 1-11 or you guys go 1-11 last year? No,
3-9. We weirdly beat Arkansas in a double overtime game, and then we beat I can't remember the first week we beat, we beat South Dakota State, and we beat Tulsa, and then it just is a weird. It's going to go down as like the weirdest season ever for Oklahoma State if this year we're suddenly good and get to a bowl game, and a good meaning literally 6 wins into a bowl game. But yeah, I fingers crossed this goes real well for Oklahoma State this year. But I got a feeling there's we're 5-7, and it's a little bit better than some expected after the first week or two. We get trounced by we could go to Eugene week 2.
Oh God,
like, there's no way I'm picking that. That's not the biggest upset in my opinion, because that's not possible. So yeah, we'll see how this turns out. But I have a feeling there's like we knock off Iowa State to end the season, and then that's how Gundy kind of rides off. Because at one point this will be Mike Gundy will have his name on the side of the stadium, and his name will be on the field too, and something like that. So it'll be great, but I hope it all ends well.
Yeah,
that's what I'd say.
Yeah, and again, I mean, in the Big 12, man, you just don't know what's going to happen. Nobody thought Arizona State would be coming back to defend a Big 12 title this year. So who knows, man? And that's what's really exciting about it, is that, we probably got an idea of who's going to win the conference, I think, a little bit better this year as compared to last year. But I think that there's some good parity in this conference. And as we saw throughout, I mean, there's any given Saturday, there can be a big upset in this conference. And I really like that one. Okie State over Iowa State. I'll be watching for that one.
And I'll be watching for you guys to beat Avery Johnson and Wildcats here, because when is Avery Johnson going to be great is my question to Kent State fans, because he wasn't last year. He had a sophomore slump, but when's it going to happen?
He was great against us in that second half. Not much else.
A lot of hype. The Kansas State fans were good with Will Howard leaving, and he leaves and goes to win a national championship. So something's up. K-State. I'm just saying, We'll also, of course, got to ask you here on the opposite side of the biggest upset. What do you think is that unfortunate kind of loss that is maybe during the season right now? You're like, I can just see this one coming down the pipeline. It's probably going to happen, unfortunately, but oh well. And then I can go first here. I think that one is unfortunately. I think it's Houston. I don't think we're gonna. I think we all of a sudden we're beaten. We somehow pull off and beat Baylor, which may not be that big of an upset, or lose to Baylor's or conference opener. Then we go to Arizona, beat Arizona, and come back home, and somehow we just drop the ball to Houston. I just see that one as like the oh, we should have beat them. It's going to be easy. Take our foot off the pedal. Looking forward to homecoming the next week at Cincinnati. And I can just see it in my eyes of like, man, how do we lose to Houston?
Oh my gosh. Well, we got.
I know it's a tough one to sit with.
We got Houston on the radar too. At the beginning, they're at the beginning of the schedule, but I'll go with a different opponent for the Buffs. And we do have like a lot of, I feel like, very formidable opponents this year in the conference schedule. Part of me like maybe wants to throw BYU or TCU out there, but even with the change at quarterback for BYU, they're always so well coached. TCU, I don't feel like I don't think we're going to go in favored against them into Fort Worth. But I think if there's one game that could like really kind of catch us by surprise, and this would be embarrassing because I felt like we kind of righted just the curse that's been over us in this matchup, like this fake rivalry with Utah, because it really hasn't been much of a rivalry with them like dominating us most years. But, we absolutely obliterated them last year. But it was like a close game, like in that first half. Of course, they had Isaac Wilson, Zach Wilson's brother, having some good moments. And I could see, it depends on how we come out after the bye week after we face Iowa State. But then we get a bye week and then we go to Utah to play the Utes. And so depending on how we come out after that bye week, that could be the one that got away from us. Again, like, I think I just have too much fan trauma of us, like, thinking, like, man, we can compete with Utah, and then just getting absolutely obliterated. I think on paper we got a better team than Utah this year. Man, but I just got this feeling. Sometimes going into Utah, bye weeks, all this stuff, it just never really works out how you want it. So that's going to be kind of the big upset one that I got on the schedule of just to keep an eye out for, man. I feel like we've been a little inconsistent coming off of our bye weeks in the past. And again, with Colorado, we just don't know a ton about this team yet in terms of the key players and the guys who are going to play big roles.
Well, what are your expectations like on this season? Is this kind of like a rebuilding or a reloading season, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I see it. I guess I would call it more of like a reloading because it's not like we're a very young team in like the trenches. Like our defense, I think, has the potential to be even better this year. We have a lot of great returners in the on the defensive line. The front seven should be very good. Secondary is a little unproven, but again, the front seven I feel like is in a really good spot, which I think is the most important thing. Offensive line, I think that's probably been the position group that we've had the most improvement from last year to this year. Quarterback Kane Salter, he's in his senior year, so coming over from Liberty, he's had a lot of starting experience, but a lot of high potential wide receivers that are just a little low on the snaps count so far in their career. So, and then the running backs, it's kind of the same thing. I think we got some great potential running backs there now being coached by Marshall Faulk, which is great. But we haven't seen any of them get a lot of workload outside of DeKalen Taylor, who's coming up from the FCS at Incarnate Word. So I kind of see this as like a transition year, but I don't necessarily see it as like a year in which we really take a step back in terms of, like our record or what we're able to accomplish. Like, I still think like bowl game is like the baseline for this team. I think Vegas has the over under on 5.5 wins, which I feel like Vegas always has us like a little under where we're at. But my problem is, Cal, is that I can always, I don't want to be like too subjective, but I'm like an optimist at the same time. But going into every season, I always like have us like going 8-4. That's like my prediction, like every single year, under Coach Prime. So we exceeded that last year. I think anywhere from 6 to 9 wins is probably kind of where we're going to be at. But I think we're going to be around that 8-win mark.
I think Colorado will be around there as well if I had to guess. I'm also that guy who's like eternally optimistic for Oklahoma State and just going, yeah, you know what, we're going to be much better. And I talk myself out of every season, and then 2 months out, I'm like, so you're telling me we don't have Johnny Manziel on the roster? You know, I mean, Manziel came in as a freshman and all of a sudden, you know, went off and did everything, and that's what we've got. You know, and I'm comparing us and giving us every single thing, and then, you know, 4 weeks in, I'm like, so wait, what did I see? What was I looking at? Because I'm just eternally optimistic for Oklahoma State, and I've seen some. I think here I've seen Oklahoma State has got the same over under 5.5 wins, and I think that's right where we're at. I think that one Vegas got pretty on the nose. I think we're either 5 or 6 wins, so I'm curious to see how it'll pull out for us. But and maybe we won't lose to Houston at home and stuff like that. Maybe it'll be the UCF game away again. But I also don't think UCF's that bad of an opponent, so I didn't want to pick that as the worst loss behind this whole deal, just because UCF beat us 45-3 in the same year we went to the Big 12 championship game, and it's the week after we beat OU. I mean, like, they beat us 45-3, and it was just how. Like, I still don't understand that UCF game. I don't think I ever will. So I'll just let it go. But yeah, what CBS Sports has given us wins at UTM, Tulsa, Houston, Cincinnati, and Iowa State, and then 7 losses, which is possible. But I'm hoping again we can kind of at least make this season a little bit better than last for sure.
Yeah.
So,
oh, Cal, I know this isn't on the agenda, but I do have a quick question for you. You know, we got DJ McKinney last year, and, you know, he's, I think, put together a fantastic career right now at CU and going to be that number 1 corner this year. But you guys went and got out of the portal, man. One of my favorite initial 2023 recruits from Coach Prime, Taj McCoy, man. How has he been looking in practice? What are your expectations for him? Because I thought, man, he was really coming along as a great edge rusher for CU last year.
You know, there's not been a ton of talk about him, honestly. There's a ton of talk about Oates, who's been with the roster for quite some time. Oh, but that's kind of Oklahoma State's like MO, I would say, is hey, the guys who transfer in or the guys who were recruits, you know, from somewhere else, we got to wait for them to show us something. They can show us anything. Like week 1, it could all of a sudden be, hey, Taj is the best player we've ever seen. I mean, it literally will be so quick to jump on the bandwagon. But until that point, there's like, well, Cameron Epps is pretty darn great. He's been a safety, and Oates is, you know, with Oklahoma State, Iman Oates, and he's doing real good. He's been a lot of interviews. So there's a little bit, I think, reluctance and like fully buying into the transfers the second they get on campus. I think there's just a little bit of and I think a lot of that has to do with kind of the quarterback situation. Oklahoma State has this weird quarterback deal, I would say, where normally when the offense coordinator is hired from the same college that the quarterback transfers in from, you're like, well, that's the writing on the wall. That's it. It's you know, the TCU guy transfers in and the offensive coordinator comes from TCU. That's going to be the starter. Yeah. But I think a lot of Oklahoma State fans want to see what we've got in Zane Flores. He's been in the roster now for this is his 3rd season, and that just kind of speaks to how Oklahoma State handles like all the transfers. Hey, Zane's been around here for forever. Robert Allen, the Oklahoma State reporter guy, is on every radio broadcast you can get on, saying how good Zane is and how he's got so much zip on the ball and all that type of stuff. And I think there's just a little bit of let's see how good the team is first. Let's see what we've got that we've been cooking up for a while. Gundy builds guys. You know, when guys transfer out, we're mad because we've built them up to be such fine grafted jewels and gemstones and well-rounded pearls that it sucks they're leaving right as they're going to be great. And then something happens where, you know, Jaden Nixon, who is for UCF, he was a former Cowboy just a couple years ago. So he transferred from Oklahoma State to Western Michigan and then transferred to UCF. So we've got to go play him this year. And that's one of the guys that's now being touted as one of the best Big 12 running backs. And it's like, wait, we had him 2 years ago. We just had a running back room, you know. So we had Ollie Gordon basically, and Nixon was like, well, I'm not starting over this guy. And now, of course, it's like, man, could we have kept him? So I think there's a reluctance on Oklahoma State side to really plant some feet, and some roots down and loving some of these transfers until they show us something.
Understandable.
Yeah. What you guys have an interesting quarterback situation as well, though. I wanted to ask about. I mean, what's going to happen here? Who's starting week 1?
Oh, Cal, this is like a touchy subject for me.
Well, because Gundy's never going to say anything either to us. Like I feel like OSU's in the same boat where we're like, dude, we just want to know who's starting, man. Just go ahead and tell us as fans. Like we just want to know.
Yeah, it's interesting because you might say, like, Dave, how are you projecting like 8-4 when they've lost, Heisman Trophy guy and Shador? It's like, I feel like the identity of our team and the philosophy is just going to change so much in just how we play. We're not going to be slinging the ball around like we have in years past. And again, you don't bring Marshall Faulk in not to run the ball with those guys. Like, you're just not doing that. So I think that we're going to have a much more well-balanced approach this year, and the offensive line, I think, is really indicative of that with the players that we've brought in. Starters, which is awesome. Starters at their previous Power 4 schools. So that is, that's huge in addition to Jordan Seaton. But with the quarterback competition, I think we might see something, Cal, similar to kind of like what we saw with Tim Tebow and Chris Leak. There was that 2006, I think, Tim Tebow's true freshman year, where I think he played about 30% of the snaps on that way to winning that national title. But the difference is that Julian Lewis isn't necessarily like the guy you're throwing in there to like run these red zone plays or like goal line short to gain plays like Julian Lewis. Caden Salter is a little bit more dual thready, I guess. Even though Julian like can run it, I would say Julian kind of profiles to be a little bit more of that pocket passer. But the thing with Julian is that his arm talent is just, it's insane. And you look at the comments that everybody that's like actually connected to the program, like the beat reporters, the podcasters, they've been throwing around this thing all summer. What would a 2-quarterback system look like? All talking about this, having both quarterbacks play. And then like you hear Pat Shurmur's comments about how like, hey, they all have their own different strengths and skill sets, but they all have to be able to run the same stuff. So you've seen a big difference from last year is that with Caden Salter, now we can run like triple option stuff, more like RPO, jet sweep, or not jet sweep, but like zone read, speed option type stuff with him. And we've seen that in the practice videos that have been published. You also see Julian Lewis running some of that as well. But he's talked about like, we want to have packages for both of them. And then when you also look at like where the advertising dollars are going like that, like, again, I don't think you bring in Julian Lewis right now. This is how Coach Prime's looking at it. You don't bring him in to just give him a traditional red shirt. That's kind of how he sees it. So that's my opinion. I think that sometimes I feel like at CU, we make things harder on ourselves because it's like, we want Travis to win the Heisman and, like the running game is not going to be that great anyway. So we might as well just throw it, like we make things harder on ourselves. I think that this has the potential to kind of like, to complicate things. But if you thread the needle, like with it well, like it shouldn't be much of an issue. It seems like Caden and Julian are like very understanding of what's going on. And so there isn't like any beef or split in the locker room, at least like right now, that could develop. Because Caden's, from what I've seen, he's mainly just been running with the ones most of fall camp. But yeah, I think my prediction is that I think we'll probably see Julian play like 20% of the snaps this year and hopefully give him a lot of confidence going in to be that guy full time next year in 2026. But it's going to be weird on like, are we giving him a drive or two, like in the second or third quarter? Like, how is this whole thing? If we have like a 3-and-out or two or some stunted drives with Caden Salter, are we bringing him in as kind of like a change of pace spark plug for the offense? how much of a leash is Kane Salter going to be given? Yeah, that's like the thing to watch. Both of these guys are going to play. I'm pretty confident when you're looking, reading between the lines. I just don't know how that's going to be divvied up.
I wonder if it'll be a little bit like when Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray were on the same roster at the same time for OU. Kyler would just get in there just to run the football, basically. Yeah. I mean, he just get in there just to be like, well, you have to respect it because he can throw, but we probably know he's running. And then, vice versa. So I'm curious if there's a little bit. I think Oklahoma State might be doing some of that as well, too. There's one. Really? We've got Haas Haney, who has 18 snaps under his belt, all running snaps as a quarterback. So he's not throwing a ball. He's got like 18 rushes for 65 yards. Not horrible for a quarterback, but weird he never passed it for TCU.
Yeah.
Like weird he didn't have a pass attempt.
Huh.
But the same thing. And we've got Zane Forge, who apparently can put a lot of zip on a ball, but his mobility might be a little bit different than Haas's. We'll see. I don't know. I don't think it's worse. I saw both in the spring game in air quotes here, but I saw both in the spring whatever, and they looked good. I don't know. There's nothing I can take away. They also got stacked if any defensive lineman's hand got within 5 feet of them, so I don't know. There's not much to take away for the spring games, in my opinion, at least for Oklahoma State. So, well, of course, here I also want to ask you about Deion. I know he had some health issues this offseason, but really just his son and his kind of prodigy are both gone. They moved on. They're gone to bigger and better things in their lives. Do you think Deion before the end of the decade, or how soon, if you want to put a date onto it, but I'm not trying to ask you for that. Just really do you think Deion's leaving Colorado anytime soon?
Yeah, I'll stick with my guns on this one. I don't think so. And I'll get into why. I think that there were, as long as he's going to be coaching, I think it is going to be here at CU. And again, you have to keep into consideration, okay, if he's not retiring because of health issues, there just have been a lot of health issues, and he's had to take a lot of time off, and rightfully so. And he kind of divvies up his time as the CEO head coach here at CU, maybe a little bit different than a lot of these other big name college coaches choose to use their time. It's just a little bit different. And again, I don't know if it's a great fit here for Colorado. I don't know if that's a great fit at a place like Alabama, So it's hard for me to see this thing. Again, how he does everything with the cameras, with the merch, the advertising, all that. Everything is perfect here in terms of working relationship, the autonomy that he has here at CU. He can kind of spend time the way that he needs to or wants to. And they're incredibly supportive, the program is, of him with that. Now, because we are a state school, I don't know if Oklahoma has the same thing, but we can only have 5-year contracts for state employees. So he's under a new 5-year deal, and then under good faith, we'll start renegotiating on another new 5-year contract probably here in 2 years. So that's part of this contract extension that he signed. So I think that you'll always see him kind of re-upped before he gets close to any end of these contracts that he's on. I will crack the door open for the NFL if there is a case in which Travis and Shedeur end up on the same team somehow. I view that incredibly unlikely. And again, I just don't know how a father-son dynamic would work in the NFL. I just don't necessarily see that as a great thing. But hey, if there's somebody that could pull it off, maybe it is a father-son with a gold jacket, right? That can kind of command, I think, a little bit more respect than some of the other father-son coach quarterback combinations we've had at CU, in the past before Prime. So, I think in terms of a percentage of him leaving Colorado within the decade, I still think it's fairly unlikely. I mean, you've seen him say, I want to be coaching, just cut off the toes instead of these longer other options for recovery. Just take out my bladder. I don't want to go through any of these other longer options, chemotherapy, anything, man. Just cut this thing out. I want to be coaching. I think it's you cannot knock his dedication to wanting to coach. And again, it might be a different style than some of these other coaches might be doing it, but you can't knock his dedication to the game and to the program right now. So I'll leave it at this. I would say slim odds, but why not we say 21%, man? 21%, maybe he retires or moves on to something else. But I think, again, he's very comfortable in Colorado. Again, he will never be fired here. Never. So that's also the greatest thing as well, is that, again, going 7-5 will get you fired at a lot of high pressure programs. That would never be the case for CU. And I think as long as he continues to be here, we also got Byron Leftwich as our quarterbacks coach this year, which is fun. Doma Topeko, a former NFL defensive lineman that played for the Broncos. He's working with Warren Sapp on the D-line now. So he's building out his staff. I think it's like a really cool, unique environment. We don't have Nike money, but I think that the foundation is now there to have sustained success, which you don't normally leave those situations easily.
You guys might be the first school I would think of that would get the Jordan brand, but would get it because of football, not because of basketball first. Right. Michigan gets it, of course, North Carolina, etc. But you guys might get it because of the swag from football, not from basketball, in the other end too.
I would be about it, man. I would love that. And also, we got a new TV show with Netflix, I guess, coming up too. So, of course, we've got the Prime stuff with Amazon, but these TV shows, I think, again, it also kind of locks you in here, man. Again, I don't know if Texas A&M, which again I think would be a horrible fit for Prime to go there, but it's thrown around by the talking heads on ESPN. It's like they're not going to allow him to do the stuff that he wants to do, and I think there are only a few spots that are truly comfortable with giving him that autonomy.
Yeah, I don't think USC is just going, let's let him do whatever he wants to do here. Yeah. Like another Western school that's in the Power Four. But hey, what he's done at Colorado is truly remarkable. I do want to ask you, of course, here before kind of the last and final topic. Do you want to see like other Colorado schools, like Colorado State, join the Big 12? Do you want like the Big 12 to stay as a Colorado fan? Do you want us to try to like go add and seal from other Power Four schools and somehow get UCLA and USC or whatever and get more Western with it? What would a Colorado fan like to see the Big 12 change to if we're going to add?
Wonderful question, Cal. And I think with Brett Yormark, who I think is a fantastic commissioner, we need to be on the offensive with some of this, man. Like, I don't know if we'll be able to ever get to the Big Ten or SEC level, but that has to be what we're trying to do, right? Like, we got to play spoiler. I feel like we almost have to like take on this like troll against the grain mentality when it comes to how our conference is going to handle itself to continue to like carve out a substantial presence. Because I don't want us to fall away kind of like the ACC. Like, I don't want that. And I don't know. I don't know how you negotiate. Again, it doesn't make any sense to me how the hell the Big Ten can be getting, $50-60 million per school when they got like places like freaking Rutgers, as part of their conference. And, some of these other schools that I just don't feel like add much value at all. I don't understand like how there's such a big disparity. But I would love for the conference to just focus on getting the best football programs they can and just making this, the best straight up football conference. And I'm talking about going against the grain, saying, let's go at a Boise State. Let's just go do it. Who cares about the viewership or lack thereof with Boise State? They would be fantastic for the parity of this conference. Or you're talking about, the ACC, whatever. I know this would piss a lot of people off. I would love it. I don't care. SMU's a good team. They belong in the Big 12. Go and get them. They're paying for free they're paying their own way into the ACC. What kind of deal is that? Maybe we could somehow grab a Virginia Tech or grab a Nebraska. What if we invest to buy people out from certain deals in their conferences? But again, you got to make it worthwhile to where they see the upside as to staying with the Big Ten or SEC. But I would just love us to focus on that, man. Bring it back to what this thing is all about, and that's just having the best teams in college football, having the most competitive conference. And again, I feel like the SEC kind of ruins all this stuff because they only play 8 conference games, and that continues the perception that they're just so much better than everybody else. Again, maybe we take a drastic approach and say, you know what, screw it. We're going to play 10 conference games. We're going to play 11 conference games because we just want to have the best football. Now, that wouldn't do great for the college football playoff. I think it would be great for viewership. I think it would be great for fan engagement, wanting to keep up with this conference. At the same time, maybe we need to play a little dirty and say, you know what, we've actually been the most competitive conference in college football over the last few years. So we're going to play 8 conference games now, which I would hate that because I think it dilutes the sport. But it's all, again, you have to play spoiler. You have to play troll when it comes to some of these dynamics with the other conferences. That's just what I want to see, man. I want to see us try and spoil things, shake things up, put pressure on these conferences. And I don't know how you can change up the revenue model to make this more appealing than, if you're in Nebraska stuck in the Big Ten. I would love to have Nebraska back in the Big 12. I would love it. I think it would be so great. How do you pull that off, though? I don't know. I just want college football to go back to, I don't know, being kind of what it used to be.
Yeah, I think it sucks that the Big 12 has to go up against a schedule every single year that the SEC is allowed to play, for example, Illinois State, Temple, Kent State as 3 of their non-conference games. I get it. You also play Michigan. Michigan might be tough, but maybe not be. Who knows? I think they'll be worse than Oregon, if I'm guessing. And I know Oklahoma State's playing Oregon. If I'm picking Michigan versus Georgia Tech, I think it's a toss-up. I'm not exactly sure. Georgia Tech might be really bad, or they could be good. They're in the ACC. They're not horrible. We know that. It just is such a weird paradigm we live in where everything is, hey, we're this good, we're this great every year. We get to play 4 teams that are non-conference. And also, generally speaking, the SEC gets to have one of them as a makeshift bye week where they've already started their season, versus their whole entire conference season. And then randomly, Alabama gets to play Mercer in November.
It's
all
always
right, well,
FCS teams, dude.
Yeah.
It's not even
always.
G5.
Not at all. I mean, Oklahoma State went to Boise State not too long ago, 2021, I believe, and beat them barely. And OU this year is going to Temple. But Temple's in Philadelphia. They play at the Philadelphia Eagles Stadium. They don't play in Boise, Idaho, where you've got raucous fans. And Temple also is just not bringing the same type of fan base to any stadium that Boise State is. And I would much rather see us, like you're saying, add a couple teams here. What if we just took Cal and Stanford? Would that take the Bay Area market? All of a sudden, that bring in the TV revenue for the Bay Area? Because I do think Rutgers, that grabs a lot of the New Jersey and New York market. Northwestern grabs a lot of the Chicago market. Even though those schools are not doing anything for the conference, it just is those TV market buys. If we still had Texas, we'd have the Austin TV market. That'd be sick. We'd have basically a lot of Texas. That'd be sick. But are we going to get Texas back? I'm not going to say that's the one to add because I just don't think it's as likely. But I'd, like you're saying, let's go get North Carolina. Let's go get North Carolina State, Duke, Virginia Tech, be 18, be 20 teams, call it a day. Florida State, what are they going to do when the ACC collapses? I mean, they're a huge brand. Let's go grab Florida State, Miami, Duke, and North Carolina and call it a day. And all of a sudden be at 20. And I don't think any of those schools are like, well, we would love to stay in the ACC because they've got such high matchups and stuff. And, well, the second Dabo leaves Clemson, I don't think they'll be that great. Just like I don't think Oklahoma State will be that great when Gundy leaves, to be honest. But I'm pessimistic that the ACC will work it out.
Yeah, and I think like you're already seeing that perception shift starting to change a little bit as we saw last year. I think with Arizona State knocking off, or they didn't knock off Texas, right? They almost did.
Got so close. Cam Scadboo by himself almost did it. It was wild.
Yeah. I mean, it was so close, and it just shows like the Big 12 isn't nearly as far off, I think, like as they've been perceived. And I think like in the preseason top 25, you see that reflected. I think you only see 3 ACC teams in there. One of them being, SMU, which again, I would love to have out here because I don't feel like the ACC really wants them. I think 5 teams from the Big 12 included in the top 25. So, I think that perception shift is starting to happen to where the Big 12 is definitely kind of separating itself above the ACC and hopefully, drawing within striking distance of the Big 10 and SEC. The problem is that, we just don't have that big juggernaut, the Ohio State, Oregon, Alabama, Georgia. I mean, those teams are kind of in a league of their own, and they just kind of pull up the rest of the conference because of how dominant they are.
For sure. Well, anything else you want to add on the Big 12? Any like, hey, this is a random prediction I've got, or a random horrible prediction, either way, where you think some battle happened?
I think right now for like conference winners, again, I think that there could be 10 teams in this conference that could end up with the title, which is always great, man. I think that, again, that parity is what makes football exciting, in my opinion. All these other politics regarding around the college football playoff, they're ruining it. But in terms of predicting a winner, it's going to be hard not to follow up or not to back up Arizona State with the foundation they've built. They got Sam Levitt coming back. They got Kanye Udo coming in at running back from Army. I think right now, until they prove otherwise, I think that they're just going to be, right now I'm labeling them the team to beat in the Big 12.
I personally think it'll be them and Texas Tech in the Big 12 championship. Tech spent so much money on the NIL.
Yes.
If it doesn't work out, then
it's almost like Texas A&M-esque. We'll see if they got a better culture.
Yeah. Is Joey McGuire that good of a coach? Is it just you just pay too much on players and you can't get them to all buy in? Is the quarterback just not that great, but he's surrounded by so many good guys? So many different questions here. But that's the next part of Big 12 is it's not like there's 3 teams than everyone else. It's not Oregon, Ohio State, and Penn State, and then whatever. It's everyone. It's Colorado, it's K-State, it's KU, it's Arizona State, it's
BYU,
TCU, Josh Hoover, pretty high on him. I think he's good. Devin DePierre with Utah, they might be decent.
Baylor, people are sleeping on Baylor, I think, this year. A little bit.
Yeah. Jerry Robertson, Dave Aranda is a really good coach. That thing is, he's wild comments he makes every so often to the media, but it's just because they're from left field. They're just real out there. Yes. Where they're going to end. He starts a sentence. You're like, we're talking about the two now. Okay, great. And then also sometimes he's talking. You're like, this is how the 3-4 defense works. Cool, good to know. Glad we also had these exact same quotes back to back in a 5-minute speech. So never know what it is. But I'm worried about the Baylor Bears. I can't say I'm not. So always be worried after 2021 when they beat us in the Big 12 championship anyways. So that one will sting still for another 5 years. Once it gets to be 2031, I'll let one go. But still stick with me. So and remember Oklahoma State players who walked home, walked the 3 from the airport back home from campus after that game. So there's a bunch of rumors on like how everything went down and all the coaches and players in 2021, and Spencer Sanders doesn't really come back, and there's just things that 2021 Oklahoma State team. I'm still questioning, but then we won Fiesta Bowl, so it would be our game. So I don't know. Hard to tell. Well, David, in case you're not already, please follow at David Talks Sports on X/Twitter, right? And David Talks Buffs everywhere else. I think I got that.
Yeah, and if you like NFL, Broncos, David Talks Broncos on YouTube. You know, we're a little bit smaller, but we're just as fun over there too.
A lot of fun. You're not as excited about Justin Herbert as I am, which is fine. I get it. I'm still a big Chargers fan. But with that being said, Dave, thanks so much for joining here on the latest episode of the CGA Tour podcast. Already, please subscribe, follow at the CGA Tour wherever you listen to podcasts, and be waiting here on the patiently but surely waiting on the rebrand here to make it more Oklahoma State centered. Maybe Calvin Talks Cowboys. I don't know. I'll have to hit you up with the trademarks, I'm sure. So we'll see. But thanks so much again, Dave, for joining, and we'll catch you guys again soon.